Someone you're close to can suddenly feel distant. Then slowly, they message you less. They don't call you like they used to. And eventually, you're left wondering, what happened? The hardest part isn't always losing someone. It's not knowing why. But people don't always pull away because of one specific thing you did. Sometimes the reason is much more complicated. Here are 4 psychological reasons people can slowly distance themselves without ever telling you why. 1. The relationship no longer fits their life. Sometimes people simply grow in different directions. You may still care about each other, but your priorities change. One person wants stability. The other wants adventure. One becomes focused on their career. The other wants more time and connection. Even friendships can quietly fade when 2 people no longer live the same kind of life. And because nobody did anything wrong, there's no obvious moment when the relationship ends. You just slowly realize you're no longer walking in the same direction. 2. They don't feel understood anymore. Sometimes people pull away because they stop feeling emotionally understood. Maybe conversations become repetitive. Maybe they feel like they can't talk about certain things without being judged. Or maybe they tried to communicate something important and felt like it wasn't really heard. When people repeatedly feel misunderstood, they don't always confront it. Sometimes they simply stop sharing. They reveal less. They reach out less. And eventually, the emotional distance becomes physical distance. 3. You remind them of a version of themselves they've outgrown. This one is surprisingly common. Sometimes people don't pull away because they dislike you. They pull away because being around you reminds them of who they used to be. Maybe you knew them during a difficult period. Maybe your friendship is connected to an old lifestyle, old habits, or an old identity. And as they change, they may start feeling uncomfortable around people who knew the old version of them. So instead of explaining, "I don't feel like I belong here anymore," they create distance. It's not always rejection. Sometimes it's identity change. 4. They pull away because you're getting too close to something they don't want you to see. Sometimes someone becomes distant precisely when the relationship becomes deeper. Why? Because closeness means being seen. You start noticing their insecurities, their contradictions, their unhealthy habits, things they normally keep hidden. And some people are comfortable with relationships as long as they're somewhat superficial. But once someone gets close enough to actually know them, they become uncomfortable. So they create distance. Not because you did something wrong, but because being understood can feel threatening when someone isn't comfortable with themselves. So if someone suddenly starts pulling away, don't assume you did something wrong. Sometimes people leave because they changed, and sometimes because the connection changed. You may never get the explanation you wanted, but someone's distance isn't always a verdict on your worth. Sometimes people aren't walking away from you. They're simply walking toward a life that no longer includes the relationship you once had. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.